Hey guys, it's Avenger, welcome back to the channel, and we're up here at Refuge Cove today, up in British Columbia, Canada, to take a trip to an unmarked location. I've had some really fun ones with these, so I thought you guys would enjoy a new spot. We're heading up the Hamathka River, or to the Hamathka River, which is a provincial park, at least its estuary is, in British Columbia. Now, we're taking the Maule, because I want to give her a proper good thrashing and see how she really handles things today. This isn't a marked location, but you'll be able to find it when I show you where it is. So we're starting from Charlie Alpha Yankee 3? Yes, Refuge Cove. I'll include a link to the scenery in the description. And we'll be heading north up the Butte Inlet. So let's get ourselves going, shall we? And get on with today's adventures. Let's get everything set up and started as we need it to. There we go. Wonderful. Everything's set where it should be there. Our gear is up as it needs to be. There we go. Fuel is selected to both. GPS are coming online. Avionics are on. Flaps are set to neutral. Nicely placed at the dock here at Refuge Cove. Beautiful little spot, actually. Great little seaplane location, and there's the store as well, which is always nice to have. Right, I think we're about ready on those. Once we get the props going, we're going to be mobile straight away. Welcome to seaplanes. So let's we obviously haven't got a line we can cast off, unfortunately, so we have to go with it this way. Let's get my yoke back on here. I wonder if the parking brake actually does do anything here. I don't know if they mapped it that way. It appears to be. We actually are. No, we're not moving. Never mind. Ignore me. It's fine. Right. Where's my boost pump? And we got fuel pressure. We do. Clear prop. There we go. We're starting to move out into the channel. So we're going to head to the south, just past the island here ahead of us. We'll just do a bit of a plough taxi. Turn my head on here. Plough taxiing is where you're keeping the tips of the floats out of the water. We're not going to go fast enough that we get up on the step. We're just going to let the actual aircraft taxi out here under power at a decent speed. We can get to about 40 knots or so. And just maneuver out into open water where we're going to depart. So we're taking off from Refuge Cove itself. Then we'll be heading over Tika and Arm up towards West Redonda Island before heading onwards. So we'll talk about those when we get there. Keep it about 20 knots here for now. We also have rudder authority here, so we should be okay in that regard. We'll throttle back, keeping our yoke all the way back here. Let's give ourselves a bit more goose to get out past the headland. Must say I've flown this a few times and the pitch is still pretty sensitive on the Maule, and from what you guys in the comments have said, not authentically so. Hopefully they'll tweak that. It'll make it a really good all-round aircraft, but it's not terrible. The sounds could definitely be improved. I've been told those are the default Bonanza sounds. They sound okay, but they could be better. For an aircraft this price, you'd expect more, so here we are. Right, let's get ourselves set up here. Water rudders are retracted. Gear is confirmed up. Okay, we're ready for water takeoff. So we'll give ourselves a notch of flaps here. Everything is set where it needs to be. And we are rolling. Ease forward. A little bit of forward trim. The Maule tends to get a little bit tail happy on takeoff. At least in this configuration. There we go. Flaps coming up. And we'll make our turn around here to the right. And get ourselves on course. Turns quite quickly as well. Not sure if I remember it being like that, but you never know with some of these things. Memories are always a very fallible part of our being. Okay, so we'll hop up here and over. We'll have Tika and Arm off to our right-hand side once we clear this crest. And we should be good. Yeah. Flaps are fully retracted as we want them to be. I found it to be quite a light and enjoyable aircraft to fly. The pitch sensitivity is definitely a very weird factor of it. I find rather than using the actual button trim I have on my yoke, which I use for most aircraft, I have to use the wheel trim on my Bravo because it's a little more, or a little less sensitive, I should say. That was too much nose up trim there. Let's throw that forward. Look at us, nose down here. This should be Teak and Arm. We're heading past on the right hand side once we clear this, and then we'll head on upwards towards Butte Inlet. Butte Inlet's a huge body of water here. It's a glacial formation like most parts of this landscape, and it runs around the top of or up into the heart here of this part of BC, and to where we get to the Hamathco Estuary Provincial Park. We'll be going past Moe Creek as well, which is one of my favourite little strips. It's a dirt curved climbing runway. It's a real challenge to fly, and I quite enjoy it. So once we hit the water just below us down there, this should be Teak and Arm. We'll be turning a little bit to our left, turning further north. Should probably switch this back onto its actual tracking page. There we go. So that, as you can see right there, is Teak and Arm, which is down below us there. Wi-Fi still got nice. So this is Teak and Arm here. And apparently this defaults to having its chocks on for a seaplane, which is hilarious. Yeah, let's remove those, shall we? That makes things a little bit more interesting. Right. Turn north here. I want a heading of 342. A lot of power in this aircraft. It's climbing really well. We're 118 knots right now. We're still really in a climb, or just about. It does have a lot of grunt to it. Even the seaplane's pretty quick. Relatively, of course. You are dragging around a big pair of clown shoes with you, so it makes things a bit more difficult. Overshot my turn there. That's Butte Inlet up ahead of us, which is what we're heading towards. We should be passing over, I think. That's West Redondo Island to our right. So that's part of where we're heading. So this should be up towards Butte Inlet right ahead of us, I believe. If my geography is correct, and it often's okay, so we'll hope to do that. If we see Granite Peak on the left-hand side further up the channel, we'll know we're in the right place, which is always good. There we go. And this trim is something I'm really chasing with this aircraft. It's quite awkward, in fact. No, nose down. There we go. Let's roll the wings. It wants me to go straight up, which I don't really want to do. I'd rather go up the channel. It's going to make my life easier to just sit at a level attitude. The one downside to this aircraft is we don't really have an autopilot. We have our transponder, of course, which I forgot to turn on. But we don't have an autopilot. And weird enough, for an aircraft that's built in America, I think it's using the default Sobo code because it's defaulting to a European or generally global VFR code. So by my judgment, we go up here and to the right. I'm pretty sure Moe Creek is off to our left over there. Yeah, really sensitive on the pitch axis. Way more than I'd like it to be. Yeah, we should be heading over, if I am correct here. Should be a lake somewhere. I could be entirely incorrect. That is also plausible. I know Quattam River's around here somewhere. You always get turned around in this sort of terrain. I think Moe Creek's off to our left there. We're kind of shooting past it somewhat. So we'll be up here and then take our left round at the end, and that will take us up towards... This is Butte Inlet we're entering now. And that will drop us into the location we exactly need to be in. Exactly where we want. But no, this is one thing. It's a sim. Autopilots are really helpful for when we want to do things like, you know, take a quick break or run off and do something. Pausing always feels so false, but I'm surprised by how many aircraft in this sim do not come with an autopilot. Sure, probably not as common a feature on them all, but they can happen. So it's a little weird we don't have one. I always find it a bit strange that we don't get that option. Even ones that maybe don't want to fit one, you'll often see them have one on a tablet. Obviously this is a clipboard, so we can't do that really. But it is what it is. Okay, so we're picking up some good speed here. We're picking up about 127 knots over the ground, which is pretty good going for a seaplane. Let's just try and fight this trim a little bit here. Put a nose up there. Roll our wings level. Little bit of balancing point there. And we'll find it just where we want it to be. Yeah, the fine adjustment you get from having an actual trim wheel is fantastic, really. It's a lot more like the real aircraft where you can just give it a little bit of a nudge and it really helps to ice things out when it comes to trimming an aircraft. But I find it does have a raw tendency here to roll left. I don't know if I actually have rudder trim in this aircraft. I don't think I do. It's most likely got a fixed rudder trim tab. That's what I'd expect in this sort of aircraft. So we'll come up here, we'll turn around to the left, and we should get we're turning right at Astero Peak, which we just crossed over, I believe. And then we will have Granite Peak on the left, the big mountain to our left-hand side. I have been looking forward to this aircraft for a very long time, and I probably said that in the review, but I really did find it. It's one of those classics that I really wanted. I loved it back in FSX. I found it to be one of the better looking aircraft in the base game. It was very enjoyable to fly, even as far forward as P3D. As far as aircraft go, is that being smooth? I think it is. I have to hope it is. Otherwise this will all be for nothing. OBS has been strange recently. For those who do actually wonder what I use OBS Studio and Audacity to record my videos, so I record my sound separately to my video footage. Both software items are free, so you can use those yourself, and they work very well. So it should be left at the end here, and that will take us up the inlet towards the Hamathka River. But no, I've longed for a Maule for for MSFS. There was a talk of a freeware one coming along. In fact, I was part of a Discord where it was being made, and progress looked fantastic, and then it just dropped off and died. There were talk of at least 2 others, but we never exactly got much beyond that for those. Kind of sad, really. Okay. I could be completely wrong. No, I think it's up and around there. Yeah. I think I've just chosen the wrong direction early on in this. Let me take a quick look at the map and see if I'm completely insane. Nope, completely insane. Okay, I was insane. We have to climb over the mountains here. Why is my head being strange? There we go. Okay, so I made a whoopsie. Let's correct that, shall we? Means we have to climb up over the terrain here. I picked the wrong inlet to follow. That's always embarrassing, isn't it? When most of your navigation ends up being turn left at this junction, right at that junction, you take the wrong mouth of a valley and you end up in completely the wrong spot and probably screwed. Yeah, that'll put Mo Creek in front of us up there. So we should be able to climb over this ridge line. We've got about 100 knots right now in our climb. Keep it about... if the pitch wants to behave itself, because it is really annoyingly sensitive. We should make it with about 1,000 feet a minute climb. Which... we're only at 2,000 feet. We've got good engine performance here. So we should manage to climb up over this without much trouble. And that will set us entirely back en route. Yeah, we're looking good for this. We're losing a bit of speed, but we're good. We maybe drop as low as 80, which is fine by me. But we're just got to clear this one ridgeline ahead of us, which is about the lowest point we're going to get, so let's hope we make this one. After a while, you start to be able to read ridgelines and work out what you've actually got in the aircraft you're capable of achieving. So you have to an extent, fail. Or learn from people that have failed. Yeah, we're good here. We're actually picking up a bit of an updraft as well, as you can feel the aircraft starting to rise as we approach the terrain. The wind's from the south today, so it's actually going to help us in this regard. We'll hop up over here in this wonderfully beautiful terrain that the sim likes to grace us with in some of these more wild parts of the world, where it's just not quite as perfect as you'd want, unfortunately. They didn't give a crap about mountain number 47. 132. Oh, we're losing a lot of airspeed here. I might have been talking about my backside about making this thing. Let's just ease it gently over the crest. I don't like flying when I can see the grass. That's problematic. Okay. There we are. Oh, that's beautiful. You find some really awesome spots though when you end up in weird places. So should be able to follow this valley out to the inlet itself and then take that up towards the top. And we should be just fine. Let's pull that power back now. We'll set it about 22.5 on the manifold. Should be exactly what we need. A little bit of nose down trim. Uh-oh, Spaghetti-O! I don't see a way out here. Did I just screw myself? There is every possibility. I'm a little bit off the reservation right now in terms of working my way out of this, so I'm going to have to try and be a little creative. No, I think we'll be okay. If I stick to this side of the terrain, we should also pick up some terrain lift, which is helping us maintain speed and climb. Yeah, I could see there might be an opening to our right there behind the peak. Give it a bit more motion lotion here. Give it a little bit of a lean as we start to climb a bit more. We're not at a crazy altitude yet, we're only about 4,000 feet once we clear another 100. And we should be good. So I think I can make it through on the right over there behind the peak. Our climb rate's good and we're feeling pretty solid. Although I'm going to try and hold my altitude for the moment and stay just below this cloud. These aren't the places you want to lose visibility. Yeah, I think we have an exit there. And if all else fails, we could probably make it around here. Yeah, but let's stay just below this. Need to keep my visibility, but I also need to climb, which is a consideration we should have thought about before taking the wrong way. No, we're perfectly fine. Just stay right below the cloud layer and we'll be good. Yeah, we'll make it across that point. Some gorgeous unspoiled landscapes you find when you're out bush flying. It's one of the reasons why I love it so much. You'll just find these gorgeous spots in the world, and it really is so much better since we have this world of satellite imagery. You can see what these places actually look like, and it really is breathtaking at times. There are potato spots too, don't get me wrong, but you know, you get some of these locations and they just look absolutely stunning. I'm excited to see what this little strip is like. It isn't marked on a map, so I suspect it's not going to be one we theoretically would land at in the sim, but I know it exists and I can see it on the imagery, so it should be there. And we can see water, so it's all the way downhill from here. Moe Creek should be off our left once we hit the inlet. Pull that power back. Square off our RPM. And let us descend. We'll gain a little bit of speed here. There we go. Nicely done. So we're through probably the hardest part of this, which was unintentionally hard because I should have gone round it. But then again, planning's never as much fun as trying to work out what to do in the moment. It's a terrible attitude to have in aviation, but when it's a simulator, I am a lot more relaxed about how I plan things, because if I fly into a mountain, oh well. It was a learning experience, right? But it teaches me to find myself in more tricky situations than I'd normally like, and work out a way out of it. Fly the plane. The first rule of everything. Okay, so we're starting to drop down below this cloud layer. That will be Granite Peak ahead of us, just around the corner. Yep, that's Moe Creek over there. That's our spot we're looking for there. Moe Creek is up there. And we're looking for Granite Peak. So we're about 10 minutes away right now. As the crow flies, which is almost straight shot up the inlet. I don't want to stay away from the terrain on this side, actually. Winds are not very strong today, but at the same time, I don't want to really run too much of a risk. There we are. Beautiful. Lots of air underneath us. No rocks. Wonderful. Here we are. That's exactly what we want to see. So let's level our wings out. We'll put a little bit of nose down trim. We'll descend. There's no need for us to be this high up, so we'll kill off some of that altitude. 500 feet a minute should be sufficient, and we'll set ourselves up nice and stable. But no, this is one of the places I really love flying. And this plane does suit it. It's a very nice looking aircraft. Isn't this more breathtaking than flying over fields and houses and places people have built? There's something magical about these unspoilt parts of the world that we can access in this sim. They feel so honest, refreshing, clean, different. Maybe it's the wanderlust in my spirit, or it's a desire to see these great, wide, beautiful landscapes, but I find it really hard to stay away from this kind of flying. This is what does it for me. Okay. So we're 20 nautical miles out, or 22 or so here. Just under 10 minutes. Our descent rate's good. Should be a relatively simple job to get down here. The tricky part will be what we do when we get there. That's what I haven't worked out yet. This may be landable, it may not be. If it's particularly short, which I think is about 2,500 feet, we should be okay. Being an amphibian, my gear isn't particularly strong. Now, as this is a widened road, it could be quite rutty and bumpy. Probably not advised to land it with an amphibian. The gear isn't that strong. It's lightweight, and being retractable, it's a little bit more susceptible to damage. And the front nose gear on amphibians is really not that strong. So you have to either perform a soft field landing if you're going to be landing on rougher terrain, or not do it at all. Depending on how this looks when we get there, we may actually land in the Hamathka River itself, which is right beside the strip and next to the camp. So either way, it all works out fine. We will make it in. If I'd taken the bush tyre version of this aircraft, or even the straight wheels, we'd be just fine. So not a problem at all. I must say, the selection of airports has dropped a little bit recently. I was kind of sad to see less freeware developers making more airports, although it could be that they moved to other websites and I don't know where those are. But the selection of bush fields, specifically bush strips, is down. You find lots of bigger regional international airports. Everybody wants those, but there used to be a huge selection of smaller places. Those seem a little bit more rare these days. That is Granite Peak, off to our left. Let's go back outside, take a look at that. There she is, Granite Peak. So our destination is right there. Granite Peak is here. One thing I'm sorely disappointed about is I love using the FlightSim.to world map, or scenery map, where you can see where various add-on airports are. There's nothing in Montana. Nothing at all. Here was me hoping for some nice backcountry flying, some mountain flying. There's tons of airports there in the sim. There's nothing special about them, unfortunately. But there's no add-ons at all. No freeware, no payware, nothing. It feels almost empty. Disappointing. Very disappointing. I'd love to live my ranch fantasy of flying out of a little ranch strip somewhere up there. Up and down the valleys, heading into the Yellowstone Park. Enjoying that world. Like I said, plenty of little airports in the sim marked there. Including about 8 around Bozeman itself, but I would have thought at least something would have cropped up in that state. Feels like it's one of the few that hasn't got a lot at all. So it's a good job we seem to be having good scenery around this area, at least. My first time coming up here in maybe 10 years. I think I last flew up this way in the P3D days. P3D 4.5. That's when I put my flight simming to bed for a while. It had gotten stale. Development was kind of low on new products. I enjoyed flying in the sim. I enjoyed flying in real life, but I guess I drifted away and was spending my time playing other games and doing other things with my computer. So I drifted away from that, which is unfortunate, but I'm very glad to have such a stunning simulator that we have now to be able to do exactly this. Right, this should be us directly ahead of us, if my math is correct. Oh no, just past this. I will say this has good visibility. I wish we had the glass doors. That's another disappointment in this version of the Maule we've gotten. We have the half door. We don't have the full glass option, which is great for bush flying visibility when you can see the bottom half of the door, even the back doors as well. Really good visibility, and that was the one we got in FSX. Just a shame, really. Look at those beautiful blue shallows down there on the edge. Of course, this is a very deep inlet, being glacial. It drops down quite steeply. It's a fjord, really. Start banking to the right as we come around this headland. Should set us on our final approach here. And we're about 1,500 feet, so we're pretty good right now. I'll leave my mixture just a little bit aft of Rich here. There we go. About where I want it to be. We'll have to see how this thing behaves. I've not landed on ground in the amphibian yet, so we might be up for an interesting experiment. We'll have to see. In terms of upcoming releases, I am very excited about the 109, and we're seeing great progress with some of Simworks Studios' upcoming projects, so I'm excited for those, especially the Otter and Turbo Otter from Blackbird. Shame about the ATR. I do like regionals way more than actual airliners, so that would have been nice, but we will be getting a Sobers one, of course, which could be interesting. I'm not sure if my game feels slightly choppy or the recording feels... I think it feels smooth enough. I can't tell. It's been weird today. Things have been very strange. If I watch this back in editing and it's choppy, you'll never see this video, so I can say what I like. La 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 la. Whatever I want, because you'll never hear it. If you are hearing this, I'm just crazy. Don't mind me. There we go. So there should be our destination, right there. That's where we're heading to. That is the Hamathco Estuary Provincial Park, and Hamathco Camp is just behind it as the river snakes up inland. Let's drop it down to about 1,000 feet here. Pull the power, don't need to trim anything out. I will need to put some nose-up trim in, because again, super pitch sensitive, really surprised by that. I think if I had a lower end yoke, like one of the Cytex, this would be a much worse experience with a big fat dead zone, or springy kind of middle point, and much weaker kind of force on the yoke. I think we'd be up and down like a seesaw. It'd be like, oh god, don't do that. What am I doing? Yeah, it'd be like that. But the honeycomb is a lot stiffer. It's one of the reasons I really like it as a yoke, but even now it's very, very, very tentative. Okay, so the runway itself is going to be parallel with the mouth of the valley, which doesn't give us a ton of room to work with in terms of setting up for a landing approach, so we'll have to have a quick check. We can get this thing fairly slow though, so we should be okay. I just have to hope there's enough room to get it in. In previous sims I have put C-119s in there, flying boxcars, so we should be fine, I think. Again, it's been a while since I've been here, so I don't even remember what it's like to land at this place. It was one of the airports like Mo Creek that Orbex modelled in their terrain areas. This is the Pacific Fjords terrain pack, and they usually had a ton of unlisted airfields. You could find them in the Google Earth plugins that came with a lot of their add-ons back in the day, showing you where they were. And you could find these little unspotted locations that they marked for you, but you had to get to navigate by navigation. You couldn't simply mark it as a waypoint in Flight Sim and go there. So you had to work it out for yourself, which was always fun. Right, so there is the estuary. And it should be just ahead of us here. feel the nose of the aircraft constantly bobbing as I move my pitch slightly. Yeah, we have been told apparently there's like a patch coming for the aircraft this first week, but what that's going to include I don't know, and it's been over a week now. I think my biggest complaint is that it's quite, and this isn't just for them, but in general, some pretty gobsmackingly big issues or strange points come out in testing. And on release versions of aircraft, they're still there. They haven't been addressed. Yet they're patched almost straight away. It's like, how did you not notice this? And I've seen it happen from multiple developers. They will make a pretty quick patch the first week for something significant that really should have been spotted. As someone who does the fair share of beta testing, it's quite unusual. There's the river. Welcome to the end of the Butte Inlet and the Mathco River State or Estuary State Park. So that should be our camp, and the river curves around here and will feed us down towards the strip. So we'll just go a little bit wide, we'll turn in late over the camp. What a lovely transition there to river of potato quality. Thank you, Flight Sim. Distinctive change in the colour of the water, which is a bit unusual, but there you go. I suspected them to do a satellite pass being that straight, but there you go. Obviously a lot shallower and clearer. So there's our camp. Looks like they've done a wonderful job on that one, unfortunately. I do love the little plastic river that's been stuck in the middle of the actual river here. So amongst those trees should be our trail. There's a major road that runs up there, or a logging road that runs up there and around the corner, and there's a big widened section right here. So that should be where we're heading to. Well, that's the camp. Let's pull the power out here. And we have got docks. So we technically could go down there and land on the river, but judging by how this looks in the sim, I don't think I really want to try that. And I'm not doing a sandbar with an amphibian. That would be a really poor idea. Well, that's what we've got to work with. I think we can make this happen. Okay. Mixture, pitch are back where we want them. Yeah, we can do this. Yeah, that's more than manageable. We can make that happen. Right, let's get a notch of flaps in here. We're not going to go full flaps. This thing gets real sluggish at full flaps. Use some power here to drag us a bit wide. Pull that flap actually back in again. Okay, so we want to head out wider here. We'll come around and we'll set up for an approach. If we don't like it, we'll try and do it again. But I think we'll be just fine. Look at that view. Wow. Gorgeous. What a place to spend some time. I'd love to come here. Big, beautiful Mathco River, the forests, all the estuaries, all the little tributaries feeding into it, the mountains. God, this would be stunning. Alright, let's start turning this boat around, shall we? Alright, landing gear down for land... well, landing. You'd think that'd be self-explanatory, but it's not. One notch flaps going in. Give it a little bit of rudder here. And we'll hopefully, in a second, see what we're looking for. We're on a kind of a dog-eared base like here. Those trees look pretty tall on the start of the runway, so we might be in a bit of a tricky spot. This might be asking a lot, actually, considering the height of those trees. They're not that big in real life. At least from what I've seen of the place. Think about what that second notch of flaps. There goes the nose. Okay, let's pull this old girl in here. The sensitivity becomes really problematic when you have a lot of flap in and a lot of power in, and you're at a very high alpha. Now that's when it becomes a little spicy. And those trees are huge. Okay, this is definitely a bold decision. And that looks really angled to the side, doesn't it? This looks super flat. Totally. Yeah, nah. Nah. Nah, that's a treat. Full power, we're out of here. That's way too angled. That is not even landable. That is really unfortunate. I loved landing at that place in previous Sims. It was actually flat in those. I'm trying to work out if that's actually modelled as water or it's modelled as dirt with a tiny little river in the middle of it. Well, let's hit the nail on the head for a water landing, shall we, on a stretch of river. I'm pretty sure we're going to have to nail that strip. Oh dear. This could be fun. We can make it happen, though. We'll manage. Okay. So we'll come back up here where we started again. We'll turn around and we'll put it on the river. Hopefully the sim decides the rest of it's water. Otherwise it's going to be a weird experience. It is a beautiful area and a wonderful place to fly, but I was really hoping there'd be more to that strip and it'd at least be plausibly landable, rather than just a sloppy bit of terrain. One could hope, right? So confirming landing gear is now up. Yep, handle is up. Water rudder is up. Power is back to idle. There we are. Put the brakes on and she'll fly right by. I think it looks like water, but I just can't tell. What a weird angle we're at. Okay, a little bit of power here. Let's bring the nose up and start to arrest our descent. More power. Thank you. Keep that nose high. Drop the descent rate to a couple hundred feet a minute. This is going to turn in a second. That's going to be really problematic if I don't get this down quickly. I think the river's low right now because we're running on just a small channel in the middle. Which is probably not a bright idea, but there we go. Nailed it. There we go. Okay, so it looks like we're heading straight to the camp itself rather than the dirt runway beside it. And that looks far worse from down here. What a disappointment. I think it's one of the things I enjoy about the sim is going out and trying to find these not unnoticed places just to see what they're like, just to experience what the real world location feels like. And this feels... You know, I don't regret this. We'll take a look around outside once we get close to the camp and park up. But look at that view. Look at where we are down here in the bottom of this river estuary. And we have this humongous terrain around us. That is stunning. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's solid gravel around us here. I'm about to go on a bit of a roller coaster ride. I do love this sim. It is wonderful. Well, there's our camp at least. We made it where we wanted to go. That's a bonus, right? And there's probably enough river here for us to do this. Right, gears going down. We're gonna beach ourselves on the gravel, which we'd do with just the wheels up. And this is gravel. You would put the wheels down in this stuff. But it's the sim. I want to take a moment to take a look outside and enjoy this. Realistic or not. Look at this place. Yeah, the river might be a little derpy here. The terrain might not be flat. But look at this world. It's hard to find that. There's just something gorgeous about the place. Can't expect everything in the world to be perfectly mapped out, and realistically there should be a lot more of a river here than there is, but God. It's great to find places that are so untouched. Thanks for watching, and thanks for listening to me drivel on. Bye.